Peace and power to the true and living. What's good, fam? It's CBornNacirfaSun, and I am you. Yo, and I want to take a few minutes to share some of my personal experiences with the Grail Message. I'm always talking about the Grail Message in my videos. Matter of fact, the only reason why I started making these videos was to make the Grail Message more known. So I figured it's only right that I take some time to share some of my personal experiences with the message and to explain, the importance of the message for humanity, especially right now with everything that is happening in 2020 and with everything that is to come. You know what I mean? So one of the first things I noticed about the message early on was that the message is literally the living word. The message is a living word. What does that mean? Because we use this all the time, but I don't think we really take time to reflect on what it truly means. What this means is that the message will only reveal itself to an individual who is honestly seeking and searching, yearning for the word of God and to live accordingly. You know what I mean? Those are the only circumstances under which the message will reveal itself to you. So let me explain how that happened in my experience. And in order to do that, I kind of had to take you to the very beginning. So let's go back to Liberia, where I was born. See, the thing is, I've always been a spiritual seeker. Always been a spiritual seeker. I remember at school, during recess, all the kids would be on the playground, running and playing and having fun. But there was this little secluded spot that had a piece of rock. And I would go and sit on this piece of rock and look in the sky and have conversations with God. You know what I mean? And this was before I even learned anything about God and religion and things like that. I would have conversations with God as if God was right there with me, as if God was a friend. And this came so natural to me, and I never gave it any thought. You know what I'm saying? For me, it was just a natural thing to do. And matter of fact, I could probably say, God was my first friend, really. You know what I mean? So that spiritual seeking, that spiritual yearning, it was interrupted when the war came and we had to leave Liberia. So my family came to America and, having to adjust to a new way of life, a new world and new society and things like that. So my spiritual yearning, like I said, was interrupted. But when I turned 19 and entered college, everything started coming back to me. I found myself filled with all these burning questions, the strong yearnings to know more about God, about creation, about myself, about life, about the purpose of life, who and what am I and why am I here? Those things, dang it, I'm messing up my stuff. So those became burning questions within me. And at the time, I was very heavy into the church, but I couldn't find anything in the church to, pacify well, I shouldn't say pacify, to satisfy this spiritual hunger. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't find anything to satisfy this spiritual hunger that I was feeling so deeply. So I left the church and I ran into a guy who later became a friend of mine. We used to call him Raekwon. And he introduced me to the Nation of Islam, the Nation of Gods and Earth, into the Black revolutionary struggle, the Black struggle for freedom. You know what I mean? So this spiritual hunger that I had was answered by the Nation of Islam, the Nation of Gods and Earth, and with the Black struggle for freedom and equality, And The thing about it is those things resonated with me because I was learning things about black history, black people that I never knew before. And I was learning things about myself that I never knew before. And being a black man in America, I experienced a lot of, I experienced racism at the hands of teachers, friends, cops. You know what I'm saying? So the messages that I was receiving from, you know, my involvement with the nation and with the black revolutionary struggle resonated with me. And I took that shit and I ran with it because remember, there was this hunger within me. You know what I'm saying? So I took that shit and I ran with it for a while. You know what I mean? And this is one of the things that I've come to learn from my experiences. And this is why black people, we have to be careful with this shit, man. Because we have been singing the same songs for so freaking long. Like we're so deeply ingrained in this reality of, racism, of the black man being held down, of, lack of equality and things like that. We become so deeply ingrained in that shit, ingrained into this fighting for equality and things like that, that I believe that it interferes with our spiritual development. It takes away from our spiritual development. You know what I'm saying? Because all that energy is going into, fighting this system, But the thing about that is, man, until you can really be honest with yourself and develop the ability to honestly look at everything from every side, you know what I'm saying? Until you can do that, you're forever going to be misled and misguided. You know what I mean? So I think that we as black people, we need to be very careful with this thing, man, because we've been so deeply ingrained in it for so long. And this is what I came to learn through my experiences. And a lot of people may not agree with this. This may upset a lot of people, but I don't care. It's the truth. Black people, we are not oppressed as we have been made to feel we are for so long. You know what I'm saying? And if we are oppressed, then the first place that we must look is within ourselves. That's the first place we must look, is within ourselves for the solution to this oppression. I know it's easier to blame an outside source, you know what I'm saying? But that's to no avail. So just being honest, man. If we're honest of making any change, the first place we must look, the first place we must start making changes is within ourselves. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, man, that's another story for another day. I don't want to get too deep into that. Point I'm trying to make here is that if we're not careful with this black struggle for freedom and equality, it's going to lead to our downfall. It's going to lead to further downfall and to our spiritual destruction. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's the reality of it. And I came to learn that shit through my own experiences. You know what I mean? And this is why it's so freaking important to be able to honestly look at everything from every single side, not just from the side that is being thrown at you in order to manipulate you. You know what I'm saying? Because this whole shit concerning black people, when you understand the Luciferian deception, then you understand what the fuck is going on. And then you're able to pull yourself out of that shit. You know what I mean? So anyways, going back to my story, that was like the first answer that I found to this spiritual longing was the black movement. You know what I mean? But eventually it wasn't enough. You know what I mean? Eventually it wasn't enough. But like I said, I had took that wholeheartedly and I ran with it. So I started recording music, about this, about the black struggle, the black movement, revolution and things like that. I got heavy into Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X. I was recording music. I was writing and publishing articles online. I even started writing and publishing a newspaper I used to print and put in the barbershop that I used to go to in the hood. And this newspaper was all about educating black people about the history of slavery, what has been done to us, what we've lost, what we need to do, and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So I got very heavy into that shit. And around that time, I ran into another person who would later become a very good friend of mine. And this was the person that introduced me to the Grail Message. And we used to work at the same place. And he saw, I think that he saw everything that I was doing. Like, he was familiar with my music, with the newspaper, with the articles that I used to write. We used to have a lot of conversations and things like that. So he saw the spiritual longing, the spiritual hunger within me, even though at the time it was manifesting itself as a black revolutionary. But he was able to see beyond that and recognize that it was just really a spiritual longing. You know what I'm saying? So he introduced me to the Grail Message. Matter of fact, he gave me a copy of the message for absolutely free. You know what I mean? And when I received the message, I was excited because at that time I was a very avid reader. You know what I'm saying? I was reading 2-3 books at a time. You know what I'm saying? I loved reading. You know what I'm saying? Because I just love soaking up information. So when I received the message, I was excited about it, but I wasn't excited about the message because I was looking forward to making some kind of a great spiritual progress. The reason why I was excited about the message because it was an extremely large book, about the size of a collegiate dictionary. So to me, it was a challenge. I never read a book that big before, so I took it as a challenge. And not only that, I was excited about the things that I was going to learn that I can use, in my music and in my newspaper and things like that, things that I can share with other people. But once again, I was only looking for information, that I could use in my publications. I was looking for information that I can share with people, but I wasn't really looking for something that I can grow from spiritually, because at the time I was so deeply ingrained into the black revolutionary movement that, I wasn't really even thinking about spiritual development. I was just thinking about freedom and equality for black people. You know what I'm saying? Africa for Africans type of shit. You know what I mean? So when I started reading the message, I didn't understand it at all. You know what I'm saying? It was just so difficult to understand. The sentences just seemed like they were super long and never ended. And everything was just over my head. So I called a friend of mine and I told him, hey, man, I've been trying to read this book, man, but I don't get it. It's too complicated. I don't know what this guy's talking about. And a friend of mine said, just keep reading. You'll get it. Just keep reading. And I tried over and over again, but I just wasn't getting it. And the reason why I wasn't getting it is because I didn't approach the message from the standpoint of wanting spiritual growth. I didn't approach the message from the standpoint of wanting to receive the word of God so I can apply it to my life and grow spiritually. You know what I'm saying? I was just looking for material that I could put in my work and share with people. So as a result, the message was not opening to me. So I decided to put the message away. I told myself, you know what? I think I need to grow some more, read some more other books so that I could be able to, grasp what's in this message, because I just wasn't getting it at the time. So I put the message away. And, my friend would call me every now and then to check on me and to see how I was progressing with the message and things like that. And I told him, and he just always told me, man, just keep reading, you'll get it. You know what I mean? So what finally did it for me was tragedy, which is, often what awakens people in life, great tragedy. But anyways, I was involved with a young lady, and we had been together for many years. And, we were planning to get married and things like that. I had went and bought a ring and everything. And then I found out some things. Luckily, I found these things out before we got married, but I found out some things about her. And that was just devastating. Found out some things that she were doing, some people that she was involved with, pretty much, drugs and things like that. In a guy that she was seeing behind my back and things like that. So when I found out about it, I was devastated. I was broken. You know what I mean? Like I was, man, like that situation completely destroyed me. Like I said, because we had been together for so many years, and I mean, I was planning to marry this young lady. So when I found all these things out, man, it completely shattered my world. Completely. It destroyed me. It got to a point where I didn't even like to look at myself in the mirror because my self-esteem was completely destroyed. I didn't know who I was, what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't even know what I liked to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know who I was at all, and I couldn't even stand to look at myself. That's how destroyed my self-esteem was. And at that point, I was literally just going through the motions in life. I had lost a lot of damn weight. People were telling me that that I look sick. And the thing about it is, for the most part, man, I went through this shit on my own. You know what I mean? But like I said, I was a completely empty shell, just going through the motions in life. And man, it was just unbearable, man. So in that state, for some reason, I understand it now, but in that state, the message came to my mind. It was like, oh shit. For some reason, it's like, oh shit, read the message in that state. The message came to my mind. And the reason why the message came to my mind is because I was looking for something. It's like I was drowning and I was looking for a lifeboat. I was looking for something to save my life because I was literally drowning. And the message came to my mind. I was like, oh shit, the message. So I picked it up and I started reading it. And oh my gosh, it's like the floodgates were open and just came pouring out. And man, the message was just pouring into me, and I was drinking it like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for. This is the spiritual bread that I have been looking for ever since I was a kid in Liberia. This is what I have been looking for. And the message, man, like I said, the floodgates opened and it was just pouring into me. And I asked myself, this shit is so simple and so natural. How the hell did I not understand this before? And it's like I said, I was an avid reader. I was up on my reading game. So how the hell did I not understand this before? But it all made sense because before I wasn't looking for spiritual growth. You know what I'm saying? My interest in the message was not a spiritual yearning. It was more of an intellectual yearning. But this time I was open spiritually and I was looking for spiritual bread. And the message just, man, I found it, I latched onto it, and it fed me, man. It was like a baby sucking on a bottle. You know what I mean? Just poured into me. And the crazy thing about that is that heartbreak situation, that feeling empty, the lack of self-esteem, the hurt, all that shit just dissolved. Like literally just dissolved, just went away. You know what I mean? It just went away. And then what happened next is I ran into another guy at work, and this time it was a different job. I was at a different job. There was another guy, we used to call him Pastor Mike. He was like a part-time pastor and things like that. And at first I did not like Pastor Mike. I didn't like this nigga because he used to be snitching on niggas and getting niggas in trouble on some dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, you are elder and you see a bunch of young black men here at this job. We working, we going to school, we trying to do shit the right way. We're not out there committing crime and shit like that. We trying to do things the right way. And you should be over here helping us, encouraging us, not over here snitching on us on some bullshit and trying to get us fired from our jobs and shit like that. So I didn't like Pastor Mike for that reason. But anyways, eventually, I got over that. Me and Pastor Mike became cool, and we used to have a lot of, very deep conversations. So one day I told Pastor Mike, you know, I asked Pastor Mike to pray for a friend of mine. That's all I said. I said, I know this young lady. She's going through a lot of things. She's in a very bad place in life. So I asked him to pray for her. You know, at the time, me and this young lady had started talking again, and we were actually making plans to get back together. You know what I'm saying? So I told Pastor Mike to pray for her because she was in a very bad place. You know what I'm saying? She had got involved with drugs and shit like that. So I asked him to pray for her. So the next day, I think it was the next day, or maybe a week later, but it wasn't that long. Next day he comes back to me and he's like, and mind you, I never told Pastor Mike the situation. I just told him to pray for a friend of mine. So he comes back to me, he tells me, he pulls me aside like it was some serious shit, so like it was an emergency. He pulls me aside. He's like, I need to talk to you. Then he tells me, God told me to give you this message. He said, God told me to tell you that you can do better, that you don't need her. You know what I'm saying? God told me to tell you that you can do better, that you don't need her. You know what I'm saying? And that shit was wild because, like I said, I never told Pastor Mike about the situation. That shit was wild. But that message came just on time because when he gave me that message, I had decided to part ways with this young lady. And then right at the time, I found out some more shit, you know what I'm saying, that she was doing and still involved with this other nigga. You know what I mean? So that just came on time. So since then, man, I took the message and never looked back. And I've been diving deep and deep into the message ever since. And it's like you continue to grow from the message. You know what I'm saying? Because I read it the first time, I got great things out of it. Read it the second time, got even more out of it. Read it the third time. Even so, the more you read it, the more you'll keep getting out of it. You know what I'm saying? But ever since then, I took the message and I never looked back. You know what I mean? Now, here's another thing that I also learned about the message. And this is very important for those who choose to read the message. This is very important. You must read the message in the order which it was written. Because this book is not just any old regular book. So it's very important that you read the message in the order in which it was given, because the message builds. The message is literally guiding your soul out of darkness into the light. But it has to do that gradually. It has to give you bits and pieces at a time. It can't throw everything in your lap because you will not understand it. You know what I'm saying? And I learned that in my experiences because when I talk to people ask me a lot of questions. And, and this is the thing about the message. There is no question that the message does not answer. There's no question about life, about God, about the universe, about humanity, about existence, that the message does not answer. The message answers every single question that you can possibly have. And then on top of that, it gives you way more, so much more. You know what I'm saying? I cannot explain enough just what this message is. You know what I mean? But it answers every single question you could possibly have. And then it gives you much more on top of that. You know what I mean? So this is why it's very important to read the message in the order in which it was given. You know what I mean? Because this message, and the reason why it's important to do that, it's a spiritual message. It's not for your intellect. And what I've noticed in my conversations with people when I try to explain some of these things with people is that a lot of times they're asking questions. It's like jumping in the middle without the prerequisite knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes when I'm trying to explain something to people, they just don't get it. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to go back to the beginning to understand this shit. So I only talk to people about the message, or try to explain things from the message with people who have the prerequisite knowledge to understand some of the things that they ask about. Because a lot of time people ask questions, but they're not in a place to be able to receive and understand the answer to the questions in which they're asking. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important to read the message in the order in which it was given, in which it was written. I can't stress that enough. Because if you just want to skim through the message to find information and things like that, you're not going to understand it at all. And then what you're going to do is you're going to become angry. You know what I'm saying? Because the message is not an intellectual message, and the intellect will become repulsed by the message because it does not understand it. And then you'll become angry, and then you'll start thinking that the message is false, and you'll probably start spreading harmful information about the message. You know what I'm saying? This book is not any old normal regular book. That must be understood. So if you're going to read this book, you have to approach it with seriousness. You know what I mean? Don't just be like I was in the beginning, just trying to look for information. Some people, they want to read the message just so they can prove it wrong because, they're so caught on their religion. They think their religion is the ultimate truth and things like that. So when they hear things that are contrary to their religion, they want to be able to prove it wrong. So they dive into that just for that purpose. But if that's the reason for which you're diving into it, you'll never be able to understand the message. It won't open itself to you. You know what I mean? So, man, I got to go ahead and stop this video because it's a little longer than I wanted it to be. And that's the thing, man. I could talk about this message for hours, for days, for years, on end. You know what I mean? But I'm going to be going deeper into the message. And for those who've been following my videos, I'm going to be deleting all my videos that I've done so far about the message because, like I said, if I'm going to be serious about sharing the information from the Grail Message, then it must be done right. And so far, I've just been sharing bits and pieces from the message and not starting from the beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all my videos and start from the very beginning. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want anybody to be turned away from the message because of their lack of understanding. You know what I'm saying? So I want to make sure that I'm playing my part and doing what I can in the right way to make this message more digestible for those who choose to get into it. You know what I mean? So if you've been following my videos, don't be surprised when you go in there and everything is deleted. But there's more videos coming. I'm starting from the very beginning. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, man, peace and power to the true and living, the CBornNacirfaSun, and I am you. Oh, I forgot. In all my videos, for those who want access to the message, I'm going to include a link in all my videos. Click on the description, click on the link, and it's going to take you to a website. And on this website, you can read the message on your smartphone or on your tablet for absolutely free, or you can purchase the hard copy. I prefer the hard copy because I'm not really into reading shit on my phone and stuff like that. So I prefer the hard copy. So it's up to you. You can read it on your phone and tablets, or you can purchase the hard copy, right? So in all my videos, those links will always be there for those who wish to get into the message. So with that being said, man, I got to stop this video. Peace and power to the true and living. CBornNacirfaSun, and I am you. Peace.